Have you ever tripped in public and felt like the entire world was watching you? Here's the truth. They weren't. We've all had that moment, spilling coffee in a meeting, stumbling on the stairs, forgetting a name mid-introduction, instantly feeling the heat of 1,000 imaginary spotlights. That uncomfortable rush has a name: the spotlight effect. It's a psychological bias that makes us believe other people notice our mistakes, flaws, and awkward moments far more than they actually do. In reality, most people are busy doing exactly what you are, focusing on themselves. Think about your own day. How many strangers' shoes did you notice? How many coworkers' small fumbles stuck with you? Probably very few. Yet, when it's our turn in the center of the stage, our minds magnify the moment. We zoom in, replay it, and assume everyone else is replaying it too. Why does the spotlight effect happen? First, attention. Your brain has a front row seat to your own life, so your internal spotlight is always on you. You feel your heartbeat, hear your inner monologue, and experience your emotions at full volume. Other people don't. Second, memory. Your mistakes are salient to you. They spike emotion and get rehearsed in your head, which makes them feel bigger and more public than they were. Third, expectations. We overestimate how aligned other people's attention is with ours. We assume they're tracking our story as closely as we are, when in fact, they're tracking their own. Researchers at Cornell University illustrated this beautifully. In a well-known experiment, students were asked to wear an embarrassing t-shirt into a room of other students. Before walking in, they predicted how many people would notice. Their guess, around 50%. The reality? It's only about 20% did. That gap between what we expect others to notice and what they actually notice is the spotlight effect in action. Our internal spotlight is bright. Everyone else's is dim. Here's the practical problem. The spotlight effect makes harmless moments feel threatening. It inflates anxiety before presentations, makes social situations feel riskier than they are, and can even discourage us from trying new things, speaking up, asking questions, applying for roles because we imagine a stadium of critics waiting to pounce. But when you zoom out, the stadium is mostly empty. The few people who are watching are usually rooting for you or just occupied with their own concerns. Let's ground this with everyday scenes. You're at the gym, new to a machine, fumbling with a pin. You imagine everyone judging your form. In truth, most people are counting their reps, checking their timers, or thinking about dinner. You mispronounce a word during a seminar. You picture the entire room cringing. Realistically, most listeners are processing the idea you just explained, not cataloging your pronunciation. You post a photo you're unsure about, then obsess over an awkward angle. The audience sees the whole post for 2 seconds and moves on. You're the one who knows the exact frame your mind got stuck on. So, how do you turn down the spotlight? Name it. When you catch the "they're all looking at me" feeling, label it. This is the spotlight effect. A named bias loses power. It stops being reality and becomes a predictable mental habit. Run the Cornell check. Ask yourself, if those students thought 50% would notice and only 20% did, what are the odds my moment is getting that much attention? Use the data as a mental speed bump to slow the spiral. Share the spotlight mentally. Look around and deliberately wonder, what's on their mind? The person behind you might be replaying their own email mistake. The person to your left is thinking about a deadline. When you imagine other people's inner worlds, yours stops feeling like the main stage. Reframe the stakes. Instead of "I messed up, everyone noticed," try "I had a human moment, and almost no one noticed." Shift from perfection to presence. You're allowed to be a learner in public. Use the X of October 10 rule. Ask, will this matter in 10 minutes? 10 days? 10 months? Most embarrassments evaporate before the second hand makes a full lap. Your brain wants to archive it. Reality prefers the recycle bin. Collect counter-evidence. After a talk, Ask one trusted person for what they remember most. You'll hear about your main idea, not your stumble. Keep a mental or literal list of these moments proof that your fears don't match the facts. Practice micro-exposures. Do small things that feel slightly silly. Ask a question in the meeting. Introduce yourself to someone new. Wear the bright shirt. Each successful rep teaches your brain that nothing catastrophic happens when the spotlight feels hot. Give others the grace you want. Notice how quickly you forget other people's small slips. That's not because you're unkind. That's because you're human. Extend that same assumption to yourself. Other people will forget yours too. A helpful metaphor. Imagine every person walking around with their own little flashlight. Yours points at you. Theirs points at them. Occasionally, a beam crosses paths during a conversation, a presentation, a shared laugh, but most of the time, people are simply navigating their own maps. Your slip-up doesn't become a landmark on theirs. And here's the deeper opportunity. When you loosen the grip of the spotlight effect, you free up energy for what actually matters: learning, connecting, creating. You become more willing to ask, "What did you mean by that?" Instead of pretending you understood, you try the new thing, even if you might look clumsy at first. You speak up with a half-formed idea and let it sharpen in the open. Ironically, that confidence makes you more compelling than any polished performance. So the next time your brain insists that everyone noticed your laugh, your shirt, your stumble, remember the Cornell finding. We are chronic overestimators of how much other people are watching us. Most of us are far too busy starring in our own movies to memorize the outtakes from yours. Here's your permission to be human in public. Make the joke, ask the question, send the email, take the first step. The cost of waiting for a perfect, spotlight-proof moment is missing the moments that move you forward. So next time you stumble, say the wrong thing, or feel embarrassed, remember that most people didn't even notice. The spotlight is not on you, it's on themselves.